Welcome to the Art of Black Miami podcast, sponsored by the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau. Our stories introduce emerging and experienced artists who make Miami an exciting place to live and visit. I'm Rosie Gordon-Wallace, curator and arts advocate. Miami is home since the 1970s. My passion is cultivating the vision and talent of contemporary artists from the Caribbean diaspora, artists of color, and immigrant artists. Many cultures and languages come together to shape the character of Miami. Artist Jared McGriff is a painter who made his way to this city in 2017 and stayed. Jared earned his undergrad degree in architecture from the University of California, Berkeley, College of Environmental Design, and his master's in business administration from NYU. He has shown his paintings locally and nationally. In Miami, you can see Jared's work at Spinello Projects. This artist's view of the world comes from his means of transportation. Jared navigates the city by bicycle. You moved here from the Bay Area in California. What do you see as the potential for artists to thrive in Miami?
Miami provides an interesting environment for artists to connect with other artists and also to meet curators and also have art shows. There's a lot of art spaces here, so that creates a lot of potential, whether it's Oolite or Locust Projects or Fountainhead. There's many institutions where people are really supportive of artists making work here.
Because the city is a young city?
I think that has something to do with it. I think the fact that Miami's economy is tied to tourism and they're trying to link that to the arts, that has created somewhat of a situation where art is a product of the city. From an economic standpoint, it is definitely a net benefit.
Why is it that you paint figures?
For me, the figure is the thing that embodies a lot of sentiments. Our expressions, our body language, our features even convey and communicate experiences. So I'm trying to capture that through the figure.
They're sculptural as well, which makes them really interesting. From your sketchbook, it appears that you're taking notes from the world around you. How has Miami influenced the things that you have painted either in the past or the ones that you're going to do in the future?
Wherever I am, the environment influences my work. And I think from Miami in particular, there's a lot to draw from. Visually and auditorially, it's a vibrant place. And I think the natural environment gives me a lot, whether it's the plant life here or the big sky or the ocean. These are all markers of the space here, and they make it into my work in a variety of ways. The palette, figure ground play, I think that is influenced by what I see. And then from a cultural standpoint, whether it's the languages spoken or music you hear, there's these things that provide a rhythm to the city that make it into my work as well in terms of maybe the compositions or the strokes or the layers.
Has your color palette changed at all, you think, since you were in California?
In some ways, I think it's, more vibrant. Like Oakland is sort of grayscale. Here, it's a brighter palette, less clouds, more sun, so that influences the work.
In terms of what you're drawing from the different cultures, is there something that you want to share?
In comparison to where I lived before in California, as far as the cultural landscape goes, Miami is more Black. It's a city that has a wider snapshot of the global Black community. So I think that makes it into the work in ways maybe subtle, maybe overt in some ways in terms of the subjects.
What is it that you're trying to convey to the everyday, ordinary person looking at the work?
The thing that always drew me to painting in the first place and art, even as a young person, is that different people can see different things. That's what I want to convey. That's what I want to bring with each piece, is that unique experience. And that could mean something that helps somebody walk through a memory, or it could be maybe something that reminds someone of a conversation, or maybe even something of a wish that someone has.
In intersectionality, diaspora art from the Creole City, people stand in front of your work, look, and then turn around and do the selfie. So what I get from that is they're seeing themselves in the work, and it's just wonderful. I want to ask about a particular painting, Overseer, Officer, and I understand it's in the permanent collection of ICA. Share a little bit about what you're trying to communicate with it.
Yeah, so that piece in particular is interesting because it's more of a specific subject versus a lot of the work that's more spontaneous, that arrives through sketching. I mean, this piece actually did come from the sketchbook, but when I thought more about what I was doing there, I realized the point of it, and I decided to make it a larger artifact of this moment, or of this idea around Black folks often having to participate in our own oppression in ways. So the image is of two police officers. In this painting, I'm trying to capture both the relationship that they might have with each other, their relationship with the system that they're working in, and then also their relationship as a unit within this broader community where they're working. Their conflicts essentially that they need to negotiate and balance when people are in this position. It's something that can be detrimental to people from a self-concept standpoint when they're in these roles, people having to make choices that they think they need to make in order to provide for their families with the limited set of options they have. And sometimes these things aren't necessarily the best for the community or even themselves. So that's the idea behind the work. And the name was taken from a song from KRS-One that is specifically about policing. The last show that I did, which is called Only Touching the Ground to Jump, was about this sort of performance that we often have to conduct when we're in society, balancing these various identities and code switching or whatever it is. These performances all come at a cost, and the work I put forth in that show was talking about that.
Tell me a little bit about what you see in the future of art in Miami. Place yourself in that future for me.
It's always important to have collectors and have the work sustained in that manner. And that's actually one of the things that I was going to mention about, not myself in that context necessarily, but about the future of Miami. I think that there is the potential for Miami to have more of a collector base within the city. There is to an extent, but I think that could even grow. I think one thing that this is more like a wish about the future of Miami and art is conversations like this. In other words, more coverage of artists in Miami who are working here, more critical coverage, documentation of the work that we're doing, not only the work that artists are producing and making, but also curators and the shows that they're putting forth based on Miami artists and ideas that come out of Miami. As far as my role within that, I think it's important for me to continue making work that reflects where I am. My studio is about 10 minutes from here on my bike in Alapata, so representing what I see on a daily basis versus painting what is commercially interesting. What I want to do is focus on the stories that I see and representing that in the work. I'm really interested in surfacing what takes place within the unconscious. So I'm mining my visual memory and things related to history and sort of creating mashups in a way. The pieces aren't based on any references. I don't plan out the figures. I start with abstract mark making and as the marks build up and the material builds up, I can see, where the work is going and where the figures kind of appear and how it relates to my memory mixed with the materiality, mixed with what's going on in society and things that I've recently seen or read about. Together, these components create the works that we see in the studio.
This was an Art of Black Miami podcast sponsored by the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau. I am Rosie Gordon-Wallace. Today we introduce you to artist Jared McGriff. Miami's nature and culture inspire the subjects, the palette and rhythm of his paintings. In his work, we see contemporary life through social observations drawn from fragments of remembered people and places. We recorded this conversation inside the Ward Rooming House, an art space in the historic neighborhood of Overtown, a mecca for Black art and culture. Art of Black Miami highlights the year-round art and culture scene in Miami's heritage neighborhoods and across communities in Greater Miami and the beaches. If you are enjoying our stories, visit artofblackmiami.com to learn more. Engage us on social media, post and share using the hashtag ArtofBlackMiami. The Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau is an accredited, independent, not-for-profit sales and marketing organization. The GMCVB's mission is to attract visitors to Greater Miami and the beaches for leisure, business, and conventions. For up-to-date art events, promotions, and more information, visit artofblackmiami.com.